I mean, just once you took 4 slots.
Yeah. I have my full drive. I think I know one of those suits.
Yeah.
You like
No, not.
This is on videos for the whole thing. There you go.
There's only so many.
Hello. If you would, go ahead and find a seat and we'll get started here. Hi, my name is Patrick Mathers. I'm Karsten's father-in-law, and I want to welcome you all here today. A couple of points of note, just the order of service is that I'm going to give the microphone to Mo, and they'll read the eulogy, and from there I will open up the floor to sharing. I have a microphone here that I'll come around and you'll be able to share with. If you're uncomfortable standing up, that's totally fine. But we still would like to use the microphone just so everyone can hear. And then from there, I have a few closing words, and then we will finish up the service and I'll dismiss you to eat. I'll tell you the same thing at the end, but the best way to do this is to go out that hallway where the restrooms are and then come back around. Otherwise, we get kind of clogged up in the back there. But that's what we're going to do here for the service. So, Mo, ready?
Thank you everyone for being here to honor the memory of Karsten and to celebrate his life with us. My name is Mo Mathers. I was Karsten's partner and best friend, and your presence here today brings me so much joy, knowing that you all hold him dearly in your hearts like I do. Karsten Michael Anderson, affectionately nicknamed Kitty by his friends, was born on Monday, November 16th, 1987, in Washington State to his mother, Johnny Lynn Maui. When he was young, they moved to Reading to be closer to family, where he spent the majority of his childhood. His fondest memories of Reading always included his grandmother and adopted grandfather, who helped raise him and took him camping at the coast of Northern California every year. After graduation, Karsten lived in Boise, Idaho for a bit while he figured out what direction he wanted to go in life. He worked at KFC there and made lifelong friends who he often spoke about fondly. After he returned to California, he decided to pursue an education in art, though it wasn't until he moved to Chico to attend Chico State that he settled on being an art teacher. Karsten and I met in the fall of 2013 at a watch party for the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. What I didn't know then is that would set the tone for our entire relationship, just so much nerdiness. We didn't start dating until the fall of 2015, which was the beginning of a partnership built on security and caring for another. We took turns supporting the other as we worked our way through a variety of degrees and credentials. He deeply valued education and wanted to support anyone in their pursuit of it. Something that he found entertaining is that when he was making the decision on what college to attend, he had been waitlisted for the university that I eventually ended up going to, and was waffling between whether to go there or to come to Chico. Even though he did end up coming here, he was overjoyed when we ended up moving to San Diego in 2017, where he did actually end up earning a master's degree in art education at the University of San Diego. We moved back to Chico in the early summer of 2020 in the height of lockdown. We knew we wanted to be closer to friends and family, but didn't realize how quickly he would be swept up in the career at Oroville High School. While it took Karsten a little longer in life to find his calling, once he did, there was nothing in the world that would stop him from pursuing it. One of his favorite authors, Terry Brooks, once said, "It is better to die in pursuit of your dreams than to live a life without hope." An unofficial motto, Karsten carried this value with him through to the very end. Sorry. Art and teaching were his passions. You could see this most whenever the county fair would come around. Always a hectic time for the art department, he would often come home complaining and frustrated about the prep work that went into it. But what always stood out to me was the utter pride on his face when we would walk through the displays, and he would point out every single piece his students completed, talking about their passions and dreams and how proud he was of each and every one of them. Karsten insisted on teaching until the last possible moment, till he couldn't anymore, and expressed how much he missed being in his classroom, providing a stable and safe place for his students. Karsten's love and dedication to his community will be dearly missed. I don't think I can express clearly how much Karsten meant to me. He was my best friend, my closest confidant, and I knew that no matter what, he would always support me and love me. He may have driven many of us crazy sometimes with his stubbornness and his drive to always be right, but he brought that same energy to defending and loving in his relationships. I love him, and I will forever cherish the life we had together.
I want to open up the sharing with a really fun story, actually. Our last big trip together as a whole family, we went to whatever Great America's called now, I don't remember, but Mo was graciously putting sunscreen on me, putting it on my neck. You can see I burn easy. And Karsten was there and said to Mo, "Put some on his bald spot, because he's gonna And he was genuinely not only just a loving guy, but always looking out for people too. And I appreciate that kindness and that just treasured memory for us. Who else would like to share? I know that probably a lot of you have stories that you'd like to, yeah.
My name's Tanner, and I met Karsten when I was probably 18. He was 2 days younger than me. I was doing his orientation at KFC. This dude is all about adventure, right? A couple years, whatever. Like, all of a sudden one day I'm like, "Hey man, I'm moving to Idaho. What do you think?" And he's like, "I'm going to Idaho too, I guess." So we moved to Idaho again. A little before that, he was living at this place way up Lake Boulevard in Redding, and it was about 2 in the morning. We're at his house. We were fighting with bamboo swords, and he says that he has a hankering for something out of the hot and ready box at AM/PM, which is like, I don't know, solid 2 miles or so. So we started walking. You know, we had at least 4 different interactions with police officers on the way there. We didn't do anything wrong or anything. He was a good guy. I wasn't, but he was. And he covered for me. So, but yeah, it turned out like, I don't know, 5, 6 minutes into the walk, we realized we didn't have shoes on, so we're walking 4 miles at 2 in the morning up Lake Boulevard in Redding, California without shoes on. That's the kind of thing that you could expect when you had that guy around. Stubbornness, absolutely. And I don't know, there's adventures all over the place. I've been in a car with him driving from Boise to Redding 15, 20 times at least, and back. You know, he put up with me going 160 miles an hour, 170 maybe. You know, we had a real good time. He was a good guy, and I was a little bummed out. I thought he was still went separate ways after time, you know, and I thought he was still down in San Diego up until very, very recently. He's a good man. He's an absolutely good guy. Thank you.
Well, I'm a parent of a 4-year, class 24 student that had the privilege of taking art classes for the last 3 years of her life. And Mr. Anderson, I didn't get a chance to really know him personally, probably like a lot of you guys did, but I really want to say between Mr. Anderson and Miss M, wherever you are out here somewhere, I know you're here, but my daughter Kayla has taken art in a whole different avenue than she ever did the day she walked in Orville High School as a freshman through the COVID and lockdown and everything. She said, Mom, I don't think I'm going to be able to follow my dreams as far as my art skills and stuff. Because this kid, you could give her clay at 2 years old, you could give her a brush, you can give her pudding, I don't care what it was, she had something to do with art. And now she tells me all the time now, I know Mr. Anderson's going to be with me in my walk through my life, because he has me look at art a whole different way. And she said, Mr. Anderson wasn't a real likable teacher, and I hear it out of a few words, and he's pretty stubborn. But I see him as that. He says he just wanted to teach, he just wanted us to learn, he just wanted to show the love in his heart that he had for something that he treasured. And he's gone too soon, but his memories will ever be treasured. I only spoke with the man probably 3 times over the 3 years that my daughter had him in class, but she never had a bad word to speak of Mr. Anderson. She always had good stuff. And then the end of the year, when she came home and graduated, she brought, God only knows, now she won't get rid of anything, any suggestion that she helped him with or anything. Anyway, I'm glad to be part of this celebration of Mr. Anderson. I'm glad to show that he's here to back my daughter up and show that he meant a lot to a lot of people. Thank you.
I kind of told myself I wasn't going to do this, but I decided I have to. Especially after Tanner said, I mean, I have so many stories similar to that. A lot of video game stuff that we definitely can't share here. Biggest thing that always stuck out to me was it didn't matter how long it had been since I had talked to him or anything. It was almost like I could just pick up and I could talk to him again immediately. Like it was just, when I was dealing with stuff with my kid in UC Davis, he would message me and he's like, do not look at this because I know you're driving, but call me when you get there. I'm like, well, sending the message while you know I'm driving is probably not the greatest idea. If I did all this stuff by just thinking about it first, we probably wouldn't be friends. So the biggest story that stuck out to me forever was I was 17 when I met Karsten. And I just was, for some reason, extremely trusting of him all the time. And he used to live on this apartment in LeBron, which is a notoriously not greatest part of Redding. Specifically, he had issues with his downstairs neighbors. who were awake at all hours of the night for various reasons. The biggest thing was he called me because for some reason he just knew I'd always be awake when he called me. It's 2 a.m. He says, I don't care what's going on in your life, come here right now. I was like, okay, well that's weird, all right. I just decided to do it. And I went there and I walked in. He throws a machete on the couch, and he goes, we're going to war. I'm sorry, what? It's like, what do you mean war? He's like, downstairs neighbors, they're mad, we're going to war. What did you do? He's like, what do you mean? What did I do? What did they do? And so, as I get there, he locks the door, and within 5 seconds, I don't know if they knew reinforcements had showed up or what, but they were at the door. And at that time, I don't know why, I'm sure it's because they're used to dealing with the downstairs neighbors, but this was double-plated glass. And whatever drugs these people were doing, they busted through that first layer of glass. And I knew we were going to war. And he had a Nightwing action figure, he had his machete for me, and he had a katana. We sat there and we were ready. I don't know what's happening. These guys are like ripping apart the glass with their hands and blood's everywhere. And I'm looking at him and I said, what did you do? And he said, I yelled at them because it was 2 a.m. and this was the last straw. Okay, so you called me to come and help you? Not the police? He's like, they take too long and you know that. So we sat there while this guy was crawling through the glass, yelling at Karsten about how dare he interrupt his whatever he was doing at 2 a.m. And Karsten's still yelling at him, we're over here, let's go, man. You see me? He's armed with his katana ready to go. And I'm like, dude, is this what I'm gonna be? This is our first year of friendship. Is this what it's gonna be like? It was. It very much was. We went on multiple trips. He called me to go take his vehicle to sell to some dude in Oregon because he wanted to convert it to oil for gasoline? I don't even know, man. I don't know how he finds these people. It was always like that. Anybody that was around him, it was just going to be an adventure no matter what happened. Whether we went to Pizza Hut for the 80th time and then went to go get something to drink so we could watch Young Justice because we just were super into Young Justice for whatever reason. It was always like that with him. And if there's one thing I can take from all of this was that the last message I had sent to him was that, hey man, I know things are kind of rough right now and I'd love if we could get all of our friends back together so we could finish our video game that we had started and stopped and started and stopped and started and stopped. And he said, 4 days later, he said, yep, I would love for us to do that. And then before I knew it, he was gone. So if there's anything I can take from all of that is that I need to be more present with the people that I care about because I don't know when they're not going to be here anymore. And that there's many things that get in the way. I mean, I have 4 kids, and sometimes I pass out at midnight and he texts me, he's like, what happened, man? I'm like, I don't know. I fell asleep, I don't know. But I need to try to do that at the very least for his memory, for the people that, you know, he and I are very similar that, like, if something bothers us, we're very, like, all right, that's it then. And then we have to, like, we're very stubborn, and we have to, like, talk to each other to get ourselves back to doing what we need to do, which is being for us. And he was always consistent about being for anybody that he cared about. He would always be there for you. No matter how long it was, all of that. And I'm going to take that from him and try to continue to push that forward for everybody else. A lot of you guys know him, and a lot of you guys, we've had many times together about Karsten, and I think we all know that he was always consistent, that you could call him no matter what time was, and I just appreciate what we're doing here for him today, because I think he would like this, but anyway, that's all I got for you guys.
Hi, I'm Ray Dunbar, I'm Carson's uncle, and Karsten and I have always lived far apart. When he was a kid, I was living down in Orange County, and I've been in New York now for 17 years. But I came out here in early February to visit with Carson and, you know, just to touch bases with him. And we spent a nice afternoon at Chico at some park, and he talked a lot about his students, about how they were patient with him when he would have trouble getting the words out. And, you know, I just enjoyed Carson's company because I didn't get to see him much as an adult. So we just enjoyed each other's company. Carson wasn't particularly upset. We didn't talk about his illness at all. He mainly talked about his students and his art, and we just had a good time together. And he was just a good guy, and I enjoyed his company. And I guess that's it. Anyway, I see his students are here, and he really appreciated his students and cared for them. So I wanted to emphasize that.
Hi, my name is Dave Tamori. I was a longtime teacher at Orville High School. And then after I retired, they had some openings to go back. And if you're a teacher, it's a calling, just like all callings. And so I got a chance to be, work with Karsten and share times together when we didn't have students, and observe the fact that he was very dedicated. You know, teachers, we put together our beliefs, or put aside our beliefs, you know, whatever religion you have, and also any afflictions or difficulties that you have in life. So that's one of the things that I admired about him. He was, he was on stage. You wouldn't know that he was suffering, and you wouldn't know that he was doing a lot of things. You know, when I was there, I always got early. He would come in and say, "Oh yeah, my car was having trouble," that sort of things. But those are the kind of things that you put aside to, serve your students. So it's a testament that I see several students, and I recognize a few of you that were his students. And to be a teacher is real important also for our nation. Our democracy depends on our public school teachers. So anybody that chooses that path, I think that it's a special, place you serve. So, he'll be missed. And I know that I think his example of going on, even though he had those other things happening, will inspire us all. So thank you, family members, for bringing up a great citizen and a countryman, and I really want to thank him for service to our nation as well, because as a veteran myself, I get thanked for my service, but I feel that teachers deserve that same things. So. Thank you.
I'm Karsten's mom. I wanted a chance to hear some of what everybody had to say. Some of you I knew, some of you I didn't know. He spoke about his students with such love, and that was his calling. And I am so honored to have been able to have been a part of his life, to raise him to love and have compassion and just be the great man that he was. As far as funny stories, we'd go to put the Christmas lights up on the house, and some of you might remember, he'd climb up the ladder begrudgingly, help to get the Christmas lights up, and then we'd go, "Well, you done?" "Yeah, I'm done." "Well, we'll get the ladder over here." he would not climb down the ladder. He insisted on jumping off. It's like, the ladder's too dangerous, but jumping off a roof isn't.
Yeah, we're different there.
He was a character. He liked to make people laugh. And he smiled a lot, and he did. It was so hard for him to let go of teaching. And the world lost a great man.
Yes.
We all lost a great man.
There's always somebody who comes up to me afterwards and says, I wish I said something, but I didn't have the nerve to do it. This is a place for putting nerves aside, just to share memories. So if anybody else has anything else they'd like to share, please, let's sing.
Hi, I had the privilege of meeting Karsten in college. And we didn't really become close until we did the teaching credential program together, and I have pages and pages of notes that he's drawn all over Robin and Nightwing and Batgirl and all the classics. But convincing him to apply for the position at Orville High was probably one of the best things I could have done for myself, but also us as a little unit. He loved teaching so much. It really was the driver for everything that he did, the benefit of his students. And you know, not every teacher connects with everyone. No one's gonna connect with everyone, but the kids that got the most from him, he was there for them. He was meant to be their teacher and to help them find a safe and welcoming place where they could be understood and accepted and treated with love and patience. Having the privilege to work with a true partner and to be a real team has set the bar for my expectation of any other colleague I work with in the future, so I'm so sorry, guys. But he really was there, even to the point where, I mean, he was my battle buddy for social justice, for equity, for just even his degree, critical media literacy, helping students to understand the things that they see in the world and contextualize, put themselves in the context of that world and what they should expect from it. He had just such high expectations for our students in a loving and supportive way that helped so many students see what they could do and what they were capable of. And even his life experience from his friends that knew him when he was a little crazier. I got to spend a lot more time with mature Karsten. But even that life experience was so beneficial to everyone who came in contact with him. So just getting to know and love the whole person is gonna just, I will cherish for the rest of my life. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. I'm not a big public speaker, but thank you to his family for sharing Karsten with us. I just want to let you know that I had the privilege to be the department chair for our department. And every conversation I had with Karsten was about his students. And after he got sick, anytime they said, Karsten, how can I help? What can I do? You know, can I bring you food? Can I come visit? But it was always about his kids. Diana, please just make sure that the sub knows what's happening. Please make sure that my kids are taken care of. It was never about him. Even our very last phone call, I said, Karsten, what do you need? How can I help? Can I come by? Can I bring you? What do you need from me? And it was all about him thanking me for any support that I ever gave him, and to please make sure that whoever was covering his class knew what to do for his kids. Please make sure that the Google Classrooms are up to date. Please make sure that the sub knows what to do. And thank you for everything. Right? And I'm like, okay, but what can I do for you? How are you? Like, you know, and I just, oh, I'm fine. It's okay. You know, it was always about the kids. And so I thank you for sharing Karsten to his family with us, and he will be greatly missed. One of the most, as Sam said, patient and kindest humans I've had to work with. Thank you.
I'm Hope. I'm Karsten's sister-in-law. Before he passed, I lived with him for a while. Like Mor said, he was really stubborn. I lived with him so I could like help him with things like feed the cats and make sure he was doing okay. But he would always make sure that he got up before me so that I wouldn't have to feed the cats and so he could do it himself. And anytime he went out, he would tell me like not to take care of them, not to do anything, and I'm like, that's what I'm here to do. But he'd always make sure that he was able to do everything and that I wouldn't. Also, I didn't find out until today, but apparently he really liked coming to my dance performances. And one time, sorry Mo, but Mo didn't tell him about it, and he got really upset. And, so that was it was really nice to know that he supported me.
My name is Jeff Reed. I taught at Orville High School from 2015 to 2023. And Karsten was a next door neighbor of mine in Chico. So Karsten came to Orville High School, obviously right when COVID was happening. Took a job at a school that was, trying to teach through COVID was a lesson in trying to figure it out every day. It was rough. But he was always there, never a bad word, always willing to go, work his hardest, and just be a team player. Just about a month ago, I had a student at Chico High who had transferred from Orville come talk to me after class, after the school was over that day. And we were talking about Karsten and how much he meant to her. I worked on the other side of the school from Karsten and didn't really get to interact with him very professionally very often except at staff meetings. But we were friends, we knew each other and appreciated each other. It just reminded me what teachers are for young people and the legacy that we leave behind. And for this young lady, Karsten was really important, left behind a big legacy. So
Hello, my name is Doug Williams, and I'm the current superintendent of the Orville Union High School District. And I feel two things during this moment. One, I feel a great loss because it's very rare to find someone who not only has a passion for their subject, but also can connect with students. That's the magic that we all look for. We will never replace him. We can only try to find someone that's going to come close to maybe aspiring to mirroring those two things, because those are the two tricks in education, is to share your love with other people and do it in a difficult situation in time, and he definitely did that. I did not know him that well. I was the principal at Orville High School, and I've hired many of the people that spoke today, but when you leave a high school, you never really leave a high school. So when an art job came open, and I was in Chico as a Chico High principal at the time, I even heard about Karsten and some of the things that he did when he first got there, and it made me feel good as someone who had left the school, knowing that someone that was really talented was moving on, as people do, that there would be a teacher that was going to step in, that was going to give his all. So that's my first comment. My second comment is, as I'm listening to people, and even myself, people like Karsten, especially towards the end there, and I can echo Ms. Castillo's comments about, instead of thinking about himself and the tragedy that he was going through, he's always thinking about his students. And I just want to tell you that gives me strength, because things are not easy nowadays in education. But when you run into people like Karsten, you take a piece of their strength with you, and I will carry a piece of his strengths with me forever. So thank you for letting me speak.
Anybody else in this last moment?
You got one more over here, sir.
A few seconds. There you go.
I'll always remember having his art class. I'll always remember having his art class for the 3 years I had him. I got closer each and every year. And each and every year he got something new. And I will always carry that with me. And he will always be missed and remembered for his love of teaching and his love for superheroes and his comics. He was always making jokes in class, and it was always making me laugh. I always looked forward to going to class because I knew that if I was having a bad day, he would cheer me up.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to feel left out. If you feel like, man, I just need to share, here's your push. Here you go.
I'm Natalie. I met Mr. Anderson my sophomore year. One of the many things I think for him is that even though I didn't want to, he put my photography work out in one of the art fairs. And he did talk about how stressful and everything it was, but one thing he did was believe in every single one of his students. And even if you didn't believe in yourself, he would push you to those limits so you did get to that point. And I made it through graduation because of that teacher, and he's definitely one of the best mans ever. So I appreciate it and appreciate everyone who made him who he is. Thank you.
I had Mr. Anderson as a junior and a sophomore, and I graduated in 2023, and on our last day of my senior year, I was like, didn't have a senior quote, and I was asking him, like, I need some life advice. And the advice he gave me was, if you see someone feeding a dog acid slapped them. So that's what I have now on my senior cap. And then in my first year of college ceramics, I had made a little tiki thing doing a tab of acid. And I went and visited him, and I gave it to him, and he had painted me a dragon. He knows I like dragons, and we just had exchanged it, and I still have that. And I don't know where he put that tiki thing, but I just think that story's really funny.
Anyone else?
I didn't know Karsten for very long. I met him through Hannah, and we lived together for a little bit. But at the time, I was working at KFC, and Karsten was like, "Hey, I used to work at KFC," and we were talking about the biscuits and the chocolate chip cookies we made, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh, have you guys like made donuts yet?" And we were like, "What are you talking about? Like, we don't sell donuts, we don't have that." And he imparted this little piece of wisdom. So anyone, if you end up working at KFC, he said you take a biscuit and you let it thaw a little, and then you take some of the jelly or the honey that they have, and then you put another biscuit on top and throw it in the fryer, and then suddenly you have a donut. And I was like, I've never tried that, and I still have never tried that. But it has stuck with me, and I was like, that's a great piece of ingenuity that you did. So that's one of the biggest things that I remember about him. And he was kind, and he was sweet, and he was ridiculous. And I'm really glad I got to know him for when I did.
It's better with the strawberry.
I don't doubt that.
Wisdom. Yeah.
Karsten actually also used to make a pretty good egg roll with the coleslaw and the tortilla. Just so you know. Sometimes a little chicken if we were feeling crazy. I got to work with Karsten at KFC back in, well, it's been a lot longer than I would probably like to say.
20 years.
Yeah, about 20 years ago. And the thing that stood out to me the most was the first time I met him, he rode his bike everywhere. Like, and I mean everywhere. And it didn't matter if it was like pouring down rain or ridiculously hot. That guy was riding his bike to and from. I would just see him places, and I'm like, I stopped one time, like, "Hey, where are you going?" And he's like, "Oh, I just want to go get something to eat." And I'm like, "That's crazy." He rode his bike everywhere, and he also, you know, a lot of times I did a lot of the product prep stuff, so I'd be back, like, kind of staying quiet to myself, you know, just doing stuff, and we'd come back and we'd talk about books or TV or, you know, whatever, and I asked him why everybody called him Karsten Cat. He's like, "Oh, I'm not even gonna tell you." And so I started calling him Kitty, and his response always was,
Not a kitty.
Yeah. And,
But he was.
But he was. He was, and he loved cats, and he was just Kitty, and he always be Kitty, so.
Well, I've known Karsten for, 10, 12 years, something like that. I don't know. In varying different capacities, but one thing as a pastor that's put within me and probably a lot of us is we love people who are both curious and teachers. Because I feel like there's this commonality there. And Karsten was both, but he was definitely a teacher. And I think that he would love that this moment that we're in right now becomes a teachable moment. Now, I'm not going to say anything new or innovative. I'm going to tell you things I learned personally from Karsten and from having known him. First of all, pursue what you value in life. Be tenacious, pursue it. I mean, let that passion drive you. If there's one thing, this is why I put this at the top, is his passions drove him. He literally has Batman on his urn. Right? I mean, his passions drove him. I can't think of a time very much where I wouldn't expect to see him with a Nightwing shirt on. He was passionate about art. He was passionate about comics. He was passionate about life. He was passionate about his students. You've heard that ad nauseum. Students, listen. He would have you pursue with vigor whatever it is you're passionate about. That thing that excites you, that thing that you go, I just don't know if I have the nerve to do it. Buck up and do it. I know that's what he would say. And he was so encouraged, especially, talking about, he has to kind of pull on your strings a little bit to get you to put your art up at the fair, but he loved that. Absolutely loved to show off the work of his students, not just his own work. He was putting people ahead of himself, and his passion was to help elevate people and lift them up. And I know that's what he would have for you as well. Secondly, relationships matter. Invest in them. He would invest in, although, many of you have said, I was friends with him for a time and then it fell out and this and that, but I've heard over and over and over, there wasn't even a moment where I didn't think, I can't call Karsten now, even 2 a.m. And I think that was really him. Those people who he loved, who he had relationships, mattered to him deeply and passionately. He didn't reach out to everybody all the time. In fact, there are lots of times where he didn't, but I'll tell you what, those relationships formed him and mattered deeply to him. You're here today and you haven't spoken, but you're here because of Karsten and because of a relationship with him in some capacity. He loved you. For sure he did. Pour into those relationships, he would say. They matter. Thirdly, use your wit. He was really good with turning a phrase. You ever notice that about him? He had a very particular way of speaking. And I think it was one of the reasons that, we moved him into our house to help take care of him during the hospice time, but he never wanted us to finish his sentences. Because he had something to say, and oftentimes it was witty. And it was rewarded if you were patient and didn't just finish the sentence for him. But his whole life, he was like that. He was extremely clever. Say the thing, right? Speak your mind. He did that, didn't he? He was very, very, very outspoken with the things that he passionately believed in. And he protected people and allowed them to be able to speak and say the things that mattered to them as well. Because he believed in this, use your wit, use your mind, use your words, be clever in the things that you say, and just say it. There's a reason why I let the open sharing go so long, is because he would want to hear from you. And he would want to hear your stories, and he would want to see, oh, a teacher always learns. And he would have been learning here from each and every one of you right now. And then finally, I wrote down, this is not going to surprise anybody, don't give up on what you love. Now, stubbornness has been thrown around quite a bit. But one person's stubbornness is another person's tenacity, right? One person's unyielding is another person's clear, focused resolve. And although we do understand, and I think we laughed with Karsten from time to time about his stubbornness, the reality is that he loved teaching. He loved it, absolutely loved it. There's a story. So my office is in that little house that's next door here. And one day I got a phone call, and he says, he told me, hey, would you come? I need your help right now. And I'm like, where are you at? And I drove, and it was right around the corner here. And he had crashed into a car and or a truck with his car. And the thing, as soon as I pulled up, I gave him a hug, and I'm like, are you okay? And he said to me, how am I going to get to school and teach? Not, am I okay? Not, yeah, I'm okay. Not, oh, what are we going to do about the car? Not, oh, no, about this. It was, how am I going to get to school? Don't give up on what you love. Don't give up on it. People, things will try to get you to give up on it. You must be a person of resolve. You must be a person of tenacity. Though they will call you stubborn, so maybe rightly so, but they will call you that. They will call you unyielding. But the fact of the matter, at the end of the day, if you love it and you're passionate about it, pursue it. Don't give up. Keep on keeping on. That's what Karsten taught me. He, over the last few years, has made me a better man. I loved sitting, and one of the things about him being teachable is we sat and we watched Invincible right at this last few weeks. And he was constantly teaching me about these other ancillary characters and this and storylines that, well, this isn't in the comic book, kind of thing. Absolutely loved it. It was a treasured time of sitting with him. And he would, when I come home, go, hey, you ready for Invincible? I'm like, yeah, let's put it on. Pursue what you love. Use your wit, folks. Relationships matter. Invest in them and pursue what you value, what you're passionate about in life. And if you do this, you will have become a better person, just like I have, having learned from such a cherished man as Karsten. If you would, we're finishing up right now. I borrowed this from you, thank you. There are several action figures of Karsten's back there with a little sticker with Crowley, his cat on there. And this is from the library of Karsten Anderson. We want you to take one. So as you go back there and get food to eat, also grab something to remember and put it up on your shelf just like he would have it. Even if it isn't something you look at and go, I don't know. It's about remembering Karsten. So please make sure you take one of these. There's a sign-in book in the back if you didn't or weren't able to sign in on the way in. And then Johnny wanted me to remind you that there is a legacy.com page set up for Karsten as well. And it would be much appreciated by the family if you would go there and simply search Karsten's name and type in something that you remember. If you couldn't talk today, you can certainly type something out there and share with the family that way as well. So with that, thank you all for coming, and that concludes the service for our dear friend, Karsten Anderson. You are dismissed.